Hello happy crocheters, this is Lindsay from windingroadcrochet.com, and today I'm going to show you how to make this easy short sleeve cardigan. If you like this tutorial, make sure to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. You can also follow me on Instagram and Facebook. For this project you don't need very much. You're going to need scissors, a yarn needle, a size H or 5mm crochet hook. And then for the yarn today, we are using Red Heart with Love yarn. The color I have here is called Stone. It's 7 ounces, 370 yards per skein. And you're going to need 3 to 5 skeins depending on the size you are making. You can find more size information on the written pattern. So let's go ahead and get started. In this video, I'm going to walk you through all the adult sizes of this pattern, but there is also child sizes as well. We're going to make a slip knot and we're going to begin chaining, and how many you chain will depend on the size that you're making. For a extra small to small size, you're going to want to chain 40. For medium to large, you'll chain 49. For an extra large to 2X, you'll chain 58. And for 3X to 4X, you will chain 67. Once you've completed your first row, we are going to half double crochet in the second chain from the hook. And I am going to work into the back bumps of the chain, and that is because it leaves me a nice clean finished edge. But you can work into the chain any way you like. Just know that this will be our final edge to our cardigan. So I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook into the back bump of the second chain from the hook, and create a half double crochet. Then I'm simply going to half double crochet in every chain across. To make sure you have the correct stitch count, your stitch count for this row and all other rows will be 1 less than your starting chain. When you complete row 1, we are going to chain 1 and turn, and then we are going to work a half double crochet in the back loop only of every stitch across. So yarn over, insert your hook down the center of the stitch and out the back, so you're only under that back loop. Then you'll yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, and complete your half double crochet. Now to repeat this again, down the center of the stitch, out the back, yarn over, pull up a loop, and complete your half double crochet. And you're going to do this in every stitch across. Once we complete row 2, we're simply going to repeat row 2 until we have a total of 4 rows. So you're going to chain 1 and turn, and work a half double crochet in the back loop only of every stitch across. Complete this row, and then we'll work 1 more row and be ready to start the main stitch pattern of our cardigan. So here are the first 4 rows completed, and we're ready to start our next row. This is a foundation row, and then we'll work our repeat row. So to start, you're going to chain 1 and turn, and we're going to half double crochet in the back loop only of the first 6 stitches. Once you have 6 stitches worked, we're going to begin a V-stitch pattern. We're going to skip the first stitch, and into the next stitch we're going to work a half double crochet, chain 1, half double crochet, all in the same stitch. So half double crochet, chain 1, half double crochet into that stitch. Now we are going to skip 2 stitches and repeat half double crochet, chain 1, half double crochet. Again, skip 2 stitches, half double crochet, chain 1, and half double crochet. You're going to continue repeating this until you only have 7 stitches left at the end. So here I have made it to my last 7 stitches. And here we're just going to skip 1 stitch and half double crochet in the back loop only of the last 6 stitches. So once we've completed row 5, we're ready to move on to row 6, and row 6 is going to be our repeat row. So you're going to repeat this row several times to make your size cardigan. We're going to start with chain 1 and turn, and we're going to half double crochet in the back loop only of the first 6 stitches. Once we've worked those 6 stitches, now we're going to work that same repeat half double crochet, chain 1, half double crochet, but we're working it into the chain 1 spaces from the previous row. So half double crocheted, chain 1, half double crochet in the chain 1 space, skip to the next chain 1 space and repeat half double crochet, chain 1, half double crochet in the chain 1 space. Moving on to the next one, just repeat the process in every chain space all the way across, basically until you run out of chain spaces. So here I am at my last chain 1 space, working a half double crochet, chain 1, and half double crochet. Now I'm going to back loop only half double crochet in the last 6 stitches. That will require you to skip a stitch and then work into the last 6 stitches, half double crochet, back loop only. Once you complete row 6, now you'll just simply repeat row 6 until you have the correct total of rows for your size. For extra small to small, you need 141 rows. For medium to large, 147 rows. Extra large to 2x, 151 rows, and 3x to 4x, 157 rows total. I am making the medium large size, and here I have 151 rows worked of my cardigan. Now we're going to go ahead and finish up the last 4 rows. So I'll just insert my hook again, chain 1 and turn. And we are going to start by working a back loop only half double crochet into the first 6 stitches. After those 6 stitches, we're going to work a half double crochet in each stitch and chain space across. So working into both the stitches and the chain spaces. So I'm going to yarn over, half double crochet in the first stitch, half double crochet in the chain 1 space, half double crochet in the next stitch, and the following stitch, and then the chain 1 space, and you'll continue doing this until we reach our last 6 stitches. Once we reach those last 6 stitches, so I'm working in the chain 1 space and working in that very last stitch from our stitch pattern. And now for those last 6 stitches, we're going to work back loop only, half double crochet. Once we complete the first last row, we're going to chain 1 and turn and work 3 more rows that will be exactly the same. We're simply going to back loop only, half double crochet in each stitch across. This will give us 4 rows of ribbing at the back bottom of our cardigan. This piece will go up and over our shoulder. So back loop only, half double crochet in each stitch across, and then chain 1 and turn and repeat that row twice more. Once we've completed our 4 rows, now we're ready to go ahead and fasten off. you are going to need to make a second panel just like this one. This cardigan's made up of 2 rectangles, and then if you want pockets, there's also 2 squares for the pockets. So just make sure you leave enough yarn in to go ahead and weave in your ends. And as I said, just make another panel, and then I will show you how to make the pockets. Let's go ahead and get started on the pockets. You're going to make a slip knot and insert your hook. Now you are going to chain 27. The pocket is the same size regardless of the size cardigan you are making, but if you do want to make the pocket wider, you can work any multiple of 3. Once you chain 27, we're just going to half double crochet in the second chain from the hook and every chain across. Again, I am working into the back bumps, but it's completely up to you how you would like to work into your chain. You just want to make sure you have a total of 26 stitches when you're complete. Once you complete row 1, we're going to go ahead and work row 2. So we are going to chain 1 and turn, and we're going to be repeating the stitch pattern we used in the body of the cardigan. So half double crochet into the first stitch. We're going to skip the next stitch and work a half double crochet, chain 1, half double crochet into the next stitch. Now we are going to skip 2 stitches, and we're going to half double crochet, chain 1, half double crochet in the next stitch. And just repeat that, skipping 2 stitches and working our V-stitch until you only have 2 stitches left. So skipping 2, half double crochet, chain 1, half double crochet, and just repeat. When you reach those last 2 stitches, you're going to skip 1 stitch and simply half double crochet in the very last stitch. If you're counting both stitches and chain 1 spaces, you should still have a total of 26 stitches. Now we are going to chain 1 and turn and work row 3, which will be our repeat row. So we're going to half double crochet in the first stitch, then working into the chain 1 space, we are going to half double crochet, chain 1, half double crochet. So half double crochet, chain 1, half double crochet, and then we're just going to repeat that. Going to the next chain 1 space, we will half double crochet, chain 1, and half double crochet. Repeat this in every single chain 1 space across. Once you've worked your last chain 1 space, skip the next stitch and half double crochet into the very last stitch. Now you are just going to repeat row 3 until you have a total of 12 rows. So once you've completed your 12 rows, if you made this wider, you may choose to work a few extra rows. It's completely up to you. But once you're ready to finish up, you're going to chain 1 and turn. And now we are going to half double crochet in every single stitch and every single chain space across. So I half double crocheted in the first 2 stitches. Now I'm going into that chain 1 space. Then I'll go into the next 2 stitches and then into the chain 1 space. So you just want to half double crochet in each stitch and chain space across, and we'll be ready for the next row. So once we've completed row 13, we're going to chain 1 and turn. And for row 14 through 16, we're just going to back loop only, half double crochet in each stitch across. So we're starting row 14 with our back loop only half double crochets. Once we make it all the way across, we're just going to chain 1 and turn and repeat that row twice more until you have a total of 16 rows. That will give us a ribbing that will match the sides and the top and bottom of our cardigan. Here is our completed pocket. before I fasten off, I am going to make sure I leave a very long yarn end, about 24 inches or so. Clip your yarn and pull that yarn end through the last loop on your hook to create a knot, and then we'll use that yarn end to sew the pocket onto the cardigan. All right, now we are ready to sew together our cardigan. You're going to start by taking your 2 rectangle pieces and make sure you have the very last row you worked facing you. Make sure your ribbing lines up in the center of your rectangles. If it doesn't, go ahead and flip over one of the pieces to get it to line up. What we're going to do is we're going to whip stitch this center seam. We are going to sew up about 2/5 of the way up the 2 rectangles. That is going to cause the seam to stop a little bit below our neck and open up so it's not sitting directly on top of our neck. So I'm just going to take a yarn end. I'm going to knot it at the bottom and just begin using a whip stitch to sew up the side of our work. You are more than welcome to use a different stitch than the whip stitch, but I found the whip stitch worked just fine for me. So I'm going to go ahead and sew up about 2/5 of the way up this rectangle, and then we'll be ready to work on our side seams. Once the back seam is sewn, you're going to take the tops of your rectangles and fold them down in half over the bottom of your rectangles so we can sew the side seams. So here is my rectangle folded down. You can see the back seam, and this is going to be the front of our cardigan. I'm just lining up the bottoms here. I still have a few yarn ends to weave in. And I am just going to move over so that we can work on the side seam. We're going to sew this just like we did the back seam using a simple whip stitch. And we're going to sew it to about the same height as the back seam, maybe an inch or so shorter, just so we can have a slightly larger armhole. So I have my yarn needle here. I'm just going to push it through both sides of our rectangle. I'm going to make a small knot and we can weave in this yarn end later. And then I'm just going to begin whip stitching up the side of our work. Just going through both sides of the fabric, working one stitch into the side of each row. And we'll just continue sewing until we're about an inch or so shorter than the back seam. Once I've reached the point where I want to stop my armhole, I just made a knot at the top. I'm going to clip my yarn and weave in my yarn end. And you're just going to repeat the process on the opposite side. Making and adding pockets are optional, but I do think they're super cute. I'm going to place my pocket about 2 rows above the ribbing and just center it on the front side panel of my cardigan. Now, using that very long yarn end that we left ourselves, I'm just going to thread a yarn needle, and I'm going to actually whip stitch this in place. Though I'm going to start with a running stitch, but I did decide later that I do prefer to whip stitch this. So I just went from the inside back to the outside and then changed my mind. So when whip stitching this, the nice thing is that you can actually follow a stitch all the way down, follow a stitch on the main rectangle panel, and it helps keep your pocket nice and straight and squared off. But we're just going to go ahead and whip stitch down the side of this and underneath the bottom of the pocket. Here is one side and the bottom stitch, and as you can see, I just followed the very top of this row of stitches to keep the bottom level. And then as I'm stitching up the side, I'm just going to follow along this row of stitches. So you can see that I'm whip stitching into a row and then whip stitching into the stitch directly above it. So it's just on this side of this row of V stitches that I'm whip stitching to, and that is going to keep my pocket nice and squared off. So I'm just going to take that all the way to the top of my pocket. When I reach the top of the pocket, I'm just going to make another knot. So you take your yarn, keep a loop on one side, twist that loop, put your needle through, and then gently pull everything nice and tight to create a knot. And then I'm going to weave this onto the inside of my work. And I will weave in my end on the inside. Just going under the bottom of a few stitches one way. When weaving in your yarn ends, you definitely want to weave in back and forth at least 3 times. That way it will survive being washed. And so you just want to make sure you add your other pocket and weave in all your yarn ends, and your cardigan will be done. I really hope you enjoyed this video tutorial, and make sure to check out my YouTube channel for more easy tutorials.